Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Bodacious Rant. You're listening to Burn and Rye. Talking about the newest Disney Plus show, Andor.
That's not bad. That is not a
Thank
bad
you.
impression.
I'm sorry. It's just the way Stellan Skarsgård talks in this show. It's like we were just talking about this right before we started. That he fits so well into this. It's like, why didn't we do this before? Why wasn't he in any of this before? Anyways, guys, like I said, we are talking about the first 3 episodes of Andor, which just dropped today on Disney Plus, or technically yesterday, since I'm going to upload this. It doesn't matter. It's just happened this week. This is a bit of a spoiler episode, just because it's a new show. We always do that. So before you guys watch this, first off, watch the show. Second, don't forget to give us a like. Please ring the bell. And don't be afraid to subscribe. We appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you for watching and staying with us. We're always appreciative of that. So this is now, because this is like now the third, technically 4th show since Disney Plus that's Star Wars related. Because we had Mando, we had Obi-Wan, we had the Bad Batch. Oh, and technically, I guess the Book of Boba Fett 5. So this is like the 6th, essentially, because we also had those anime versions of Star Wars too, the Tales of, I forgot what they're called, but those shorts that came out last winter. So,
and then I don't know if you counted, but the last season of Clone Wars, the seasons, like what was it, 12 episodes that it was? Like the last season that they did, which was epic, the last 4 episodes in particular.
I didn't really count that one just because like Clone Wars had happened way before. But no, you are right. That also did happen since Disney Plus's inception. But this is a new show, so for those of you who aren't too familiar with this, if you ever saw Rogue One, which came out in 2016, Diego Luna is reprising his character Cassian Andor, which in Rogue One he was a top rebellion, spy, assassin, just a top rebellion soldier essentially. And this show is taking place about 5 years before that all happened, where he's not involved in the rebellion at all. The rebellion isn't even really a thing yet. So very interesting show. Then I do like what the creators have said recently, that they tried not to do any fan service for this. They just wanted this show to be exactly what they imagined it would be, which this is declared a genre of espionage, like spy series, which I am all for. Bern, what did you think of these first 2 episodes that dropped?
I mean, just to go off of that, you couldn't have asked for a better creative team other than the Gilroy brothers, Tony Gilroy and Dan Gilroy, who have found a lot of success in like the spy thrillers. Tony Gilroy, a really good screenwriter. One who had a big hand in the Bourne movies and with Michael Clayton and stuff. So he's a fantastic writer, and famously, he was the one who came in to help. Fix, I guess, quote unquote, fix Rogue One when there was some sort of issues with the third act of that movie, and he came in and did a lot of reshoots and stuff. So, which is why I guess it makes sense that he was the one to take over the show and not the director of that movie, Gareth Edwards. So, the fact that what he said and what a lot of the other creators have said going into this that this is not going to be one of those fan service shows. This is going to be something that's a little bit more serious, something a little bit more separated from a lot of the Skywalker and Force user stuff that we've seen in other Star Wars movies and TV shows. I think from the first 3 episodes that is very apparent. Like, and so they succeed in every way of accomplishing that sort of goal, that this is so far removed from any of the other stuff that we've seen, and in a way sort of I guess matures Star Wars, or it feels like it's grown up a little bit, and something that I've been sort of asking for a little while, where it feels like Star Wars has been sort of the same thing since its inception back in the 80s. This very fun sci-fi fantasy like epic, space epic that we're getting for the last few years. And now it's nice to see that we're sort of taking it to somewhat of a little bit of a more grounded level, with characters that feel a little bit more similar to us, like just normal human beings going about their lives in this expansive universe and stuff. So what is it like seeing all this stuff going on from the Empire to the rise of the rebellion? What does it look like from the ground level? What does it look like from a normal person's perspective? And the fact that this show is giving that to us is awesome. I think it's a lot of stuff that I've been wanting to see for a while, and to see it executed as well as it is here is like, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah, I was really digging the vibes, and while I still want to see stuff that's not necessarily related to the main storyline of like anything Skywalker related, because I mean I kind of consider the rebellion and that stuff part of Skywalker's saga, given this is where all the movies have really revolved around for the most part, and even like the shows and stuff. I'm still happy with this. I still love everything Star Wars except for Book of Boba Fett. That was just, there's some likable stuff, but massive disappointment. Anyways, this one is definitely, yeah, like you said, Byrne, very grounded, where Cassian, like I said, he's actually the closest we've gotten to a Han Solo-like character since the original trilogy, where he's very borderline cutthroat. He's not a smuggler, but he's more of like a, I guess what would be the word I'm looking for? He's basically like a hustler. He's always like taking like a scrapper. He's always looking for stuff, to sell, kind of like Rey a little bit in the Force Awakens. And again, Diego Luna, he's such a great actor, and it's great seeing him in this. He was one of my favorite. Rogue One is still one of my favorite Star Wars movies to date. I really loved that view of the rebellion stuff, that they're not so clear cut. We even see that in his intro, like his beginnings, where he's on Canary, and he's kind of just like a local, like he's part of a very like primitive tribe essentially. They're natives of this jungle-like planet. They see this Republican ship fall down. They don't speak any language. Actually, it was kind of nice that they don't speak English. I feel like a lot of humans we've come across in other Star Wars stuff, they all happen to speak English. Like, oh, so we all speak the same language.
Yeah.
But even then, when we find out that that those two guys that came out of that ship were Republican officers, and Marva, who's great by the cast so far is great. I'm getting a little ahead of it here, but it was just nice that her line was like, oh, like if two Republican officers dead, they're gonna kill him way before he even tries to leave. Like we gotta save him essentially. It's like, damn, the Republic was always supposed to be like the good side of the war, but even then they're not so clean cut. So, but I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Overall, the cast is very solid. We got Diego Luna. I think I'm gonna say this right. Ardia Arona. How do I spell? Do you know how to say her name? How do I spell it, or how is it spelled?
I say Adria Arona. Or
Adria Arona,
or for like the people who can't pronounce it, Arjona.
Oh God.
Adria Arjona.
I hope they don't say Arjona, because that's like, no, you ignorant slut. Don't say that.
Yeah, say it with the accent. Adria Arjona.
Adriana, sí. Perfecto. She's been one of my favorite actors ever since like Triple Frontier. I want to say that was the first thing I ever saw her in, and I'm glad that she's a part of, like, she's getting bigger roles, even though she was a part of Morbin Time. I forgive her for that. It's not her fault.
No, I mean, she was actually one of the saving graces of that movie. Like, she did a really good job. It's unfortunate everything else about that movie, but I didn't come away thinking she did a bad job, at least.
No, but it sucks she's associated with a dumpster fire like that. It's always bad when great actors and stuff are part of such bad movies. And it's not their fault. Even an actor who does a bad job, I'm like, I don't necessarily blame them, because in the end, it's the director trying to tell them, hey, you need to be like this. You have to do this. And and you can only fight with the director or disagree with them so long before you're just like, fuck it, I do it. It's your movie. I don't give a shit. We have Stellan Skarsgård, who are just praising, and I was, talking because he's got that good smoldering, look of a spy, and just the way he talks without any disregard to culture. Instead of saying Andor, he says Cassian Andor. I love it.
Yeah.
Love everything about him.
He has a very particular way of speaking, and his cadence and his enunciations and pronunciations. It's just so good. I mean, like you said, it's so good to have him in a Star Wars universe, because it feels like he should have been here from the beginning almost.
Again, yeah, he was when we got to see him more in episode 3. I was like, and that was actually the episode, the part where they're in that that warehouse. That was what I got to see with Rogue One, that little part. It was cut down a little bit, so it didn't have every piece of dialogue, but that's so essentially what I saw.
The special preview that you got before the Rogue One IMAX re-release, that was the scene that they showed off.
Yeah, it just didn't have some of the dialogue in there. At least I don't remember. I was just like, huh. Because this is definitely the more complete part of it. But
interesting.
Yeah, and then we have one of the actors I really liked was that Imperial Sergeant or something who joins the Inspector on trying to find Cassian. He's like the thick Scottish guy because he's in like movies like The Batman and Wrath of Man. So
yeah, the commissioner, right, from the Batman. I knew I recognized him.
Yeah, because I was like, is that the guy? I had to look it up. I'm like, oh shit, it is. He actually is Scottish, so it's nice hearing him in his actual accent because he does a great like East Coast American accent. Like it comes off very well. And like I said, the one who plays Marva, if you guys don't know who this actor is, maybe you haven't seen some other English stuff, she is Aunt Petunia from the Harry Potter films. And if you haven't seen those, and God, I don't know what's wrong with you. God bless you. God forgive you. But it's such a strong cast so far. Even the other actors I can't think of off the top of my head. Everybody really adds energy to this show. Like the first 3 episodes, I think hit the ground running. I think this is, besides Mando, this is the best Star Wars thing we've had. No disrespect to Obi-Wan or anything, but this is really great. I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, even that guy, the actor Kyle Soller, who plays the corpo officer Cyril Carn, in this, like, even though like he's a villain and like he's supposed to be representing he's not an empire, he's not an imperial, but he's one of the people that answers to them in this interesting structure that we've seen, like we haven't seen yet in the Star Wars universe, that these are the local enforcement for the grander empire, these corporations, or these officers that represent the corporations. Even him, I was like, okay, like it's rare that I like the villain characters, like I would say that as iconic as they are in Star Wars, they leave little to desire in terms of like character. They're just like, oh, okay, they're really fun bad guys to root against, but very little do they often get any sort of really deep characterization. And in the few episodes that we got with this guy, I feel like I'm getting to know him as a person, like what makes him tick, what his like ambitions are. So that's an interesting look into this villain character that we don't normally get in the Star Wars product.
Yeah, we're getting much more complicated characters. I mean, in general with these expanded. Well, I think this one was definitely the more in depth with the villains so far, at least, because Obi-Wan, Vader's pretty clear cut villain. Mando, Moff Gideon's pretty clear cut villain. So I think so far, and like Book of Boba Fett didn't really have much of a villain to begin with. It was multiple villains essentially. But
it was the Hutts that we barely saw anything of,
But it wasn't even them. It was the rest of them that like really conspired. No, it was the what's the Pikes? The Pikes were the bad guys.
There you go.
That's it. The Hutts were just cool little fat worms that only showed up once. Yeah, this one is definitely painting the picture that these guys are not, like, as much as they aspire to be part of the Empire, they love order and structure. They're like, especially him, the Inspector, he's very, opposite. Like, not opposite of it, but when he starts freezing up in the episode, it's like, damn, dude, like, I guess you're not cut out for this line of work, huh? So far, they're great. Yeah.
It was just sort of emblematic of like, I guess, law enforcement officers that have yet to like see any action and are itching for the opportunity to do it. Like it almost sort of like a police brutality sort of like commentary. I don't know, like I guess you can interpret it that way, but like him and especially the other guy was very eager to like lay down the law. Like they were. It seems like they haven't been given the opportunity to, and they're itching at the fact to do it. It's like, damn, like these aren't the people you want like being any sort of enforcement.
No, I got a very like patriotic vibe for them, that they're very, very much want to be like they love the Empire, they love what it brought it's worked out for them, but it paints the picture, that they're just proud entitled dudes, Caucasians that want to enforce what the Empire does. So they're not in like Cassian's shoes or all those people on that planet that are just trying to get by. And I love the settings of everything so far. I know I'm kind of segueing into something else, but like I said, Burn, I do see your commentary on it, and I was getting that too. Like, these guys are patriots who haven't quite seen the action that like stormtroopers or higher military officers get, but they want to be a part of that. They want to contribute not only just to the corporations but to the empire itself. They see themselves as the empire enforcing the law. And
yeah, they're overeager to like prove themselves almost.
They're essentially glorified mall cops of the galaxy.
Pretty much.
I mean, like, and they were like, especially when that guy shot Bix's lover / friend Tim.
Oh, Tim with 2 M's. Oh.
Yeah, 2 M's. Very interesting spelling. He takes the guy's rifles, like, get back to the ship. You're not. It's like, what? By myself? It's like, use your radio, get to the ship. I'm like, oh man, it's just bad all around. But like I said, I'm loving the planets that they're on so far. Like Morlana, the first episode, heavy Blade Runner vibes, which I was in love with. Just the rain, him and his hood on. He goes in that club looking for another, like potentially his sister that we've seen on the flashbacks. That she was, I guess, working like a pleasure club or something like that, a brothel. And when he gets jumped, that's when I was like, oh, this is the Cassian from Rogue One. I noticed where he kills one dude by accident and just shoots the other in the face while the other guy's like pleading, like, let's just, well, you didn't mean to do this. It's fine. He just aces him. I was like, oh shit, like Cassian. That's that ruthlessness I was expecting, and he didn't want that to happen, but it was just like, fuck, you guys left me no choice. So
yeah, and even in that action, there is. You can see the character growth, like the difference, at least in this scene, juxtaposed to the scene that we first see him in Rogue One, where Rogue One, he hesitates, like, not even a second to take out his informant that's going to get, seen or like get taken out by those stormtroopers. And this one, he has a little bit of more hesitation, like, oh man, I didn't mean to kill that guy. That was an accident. But now I kind of like have to kill this other dude, otherwise I'm gonna get found out. Like, you can tell like that wasn't his intention. Where, as we see him in Rogue One, he's eager to kill. Like, there's gonna be no loose ends basically. So it's gonna be interesting to see that sort of progression from where he goes from here, who's like has a little bit more hesitant, to then when we see him like he's just like ruthless. It's gonna be like that. That's sort of like the character line that I think we're gonna get in this show.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could even do a few seasons of him growing to be the military officer, like the reputation he gets in Rogue One. I think they could definitely expand that out while bringing in more characters and more Imperial stuff. So not only is the setting great, but again, I always love with these with Rogue One, this one, and even the prequels, the technology that they have in Star Wars, like the precursors to the original and future trilogies, like when those 3 teams are gonna storm Cassian City. I forgot where he's at. I really, it was a little hard to keep up. I'm not gonna lie. I had to put on subtitles just to be like, okay, I'm here. I want to make sure I'm hearing everything and all that stuff. But those are
the names of the planets. Yeah, it's hard to remember them like just from seeing the episodes. It's like I have to go back and like put them into my mind because they're new planets. They're not ones that we've seen in Star Wars before, and that's also a nice breath of fresh air. Where, as in the other shows, we spend a lot of time in Tatooine. I'm glad we're not there anymore.
Tatooine, Coruscant, God knows where, man. But Tatooine is definitely like, you hear that, oh, it's Star Wars, right? Yeah, sure. But those 3 were reminiscent of the old clone trooper carrier ships, so I really like that aspect of it. The speeder that him and the broker, I guess. I don't think we got Stellan Skarsgård's name yet, but when they drive around, I was like, oh, that's an interesting one.
Luthen is his
name. That's it. Thank you. Like I said, man, I'm just digging it. I mean, episode 1 was great, 2 was solid, but 3 was really where stuff started getting put into motion with the action, and we're starting to see Cassian getting thrust into the life, potentially beginning the rebellion. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, the structure of it has been very interesting too. We're getting the current timeline, and then we're also getting like his past of like how he got off of the planet that he grew up on, basically. And the way that how it all like sort of leads into like at the end of episode 3, Marva taking him away from his planet, and then now him leaving this current planet with Luthen. It's almost like, you know, he had like a new lease on life at the end of like that flashback, and now he's starting his other life path essentially at the end of this episode, where you were to see like, okay, now he's gonna be in the rebellion, so his life has changed from now on. So just the way they intercut between those two journeys of different points in his life, are that where his life has changed for drastic reasons, was an interesting like storytelling decision, and one that I think worked really successfully.
He gets taken by 2 old white people in his life. I get it, Bern. You're right. Just like Luke did with Obi-Wan.
Oh man, maybe I need to rethink about what they're doing.
You ever meet an old white person in Star Wars? Automatically, probably not a good thing. Your life isn't going to get changed real fucking quick. Happened for Anakin when he met Dooku. Happened for, actually Anakin when he was a kid with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. 2 old white guys. Older white guys, at least. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Luke,
it's
Luke
a
with
pattern.
Obi-Wan? Oh my gosh. Rey with Han? Oh god, you're right.
You see? I'm just saying. It's a fucking pattern. Oh man.
Just so you know, people, if there's an old white guy, your life is going to change.
Just that's my tagline for Star Wars. If I could explain Star Wars to anybody, it's like, well, you meet an old white guy and you go on an adventure, you die, you lose a limb. God knows what can happen. Your life is going to change regardless. So, well, it'd be better or worse, is I guess up to you.
You participate in the Galactic War. Just standard stuff.
It's crazy shit, really. It's just amazing, fantastic. And then I really liked his droid Btemo or BTAM0. That was a new one. I really liked that design. Very
B2 Emo. That's such a hilarious name.
Because he actually does show a lot of emotion, and he talks. We've never heard a droid talk like that. They always beep pop beep, or C3PO
outside of like K2SO, and like. C3PO. But I guess these more like droids that sort of like roll around. Yeah, these astromech droids. I don't know, this one's specifically an astromech, but it's similar in design, And those haven't traditionally had voices.
No, not yet. So,
but he was hilarious though. He was like a puppy every time like Andor would come on. No, don't leave, or you should stay, or it's like, aw, buddy. Like he just wants his master to stay with him and hang out. He doesn't want to see him go again.
I just kept thinking of Bob's Burgers, where Tina draws her dentist nude, and he's like, "Has he been nude with you, Tina?" "No, I'm expressing artistic license." Ugh. "Oh, we're changing dentist." "No." Just holds the painting like it's like, I can't deal with that right now. Before we finish up, Bern, or anything else that you want to talk about that happens these 2 episodes that you really liked, or anything?
I just wanted to shout out the music of this show. The John Williams' music for Star Wars is just so iconic, and it's so synonymous with Star Wars. It's like you can't have one without the other. So it's very hard for new composers to come in and make music for the shows or the movies that feel like they fit. Just because they're of John Williams. It's like you can't top that. But somehow they were able to do it in The Mandalorian. With that soundtrack and Ludwig Göransson sort of approached it, and that sort of has its own feel and sound to it, and it worked. And in my opinion, I think the music in The Mandalorian was great. But in other shows, like Book of Boba Fett and even Obi-Wan, which the show I did like, but the music didn't leave a real any sort of lasting impression, unfortunately. But here, the music that we're getting here is very distinct and very different. I'm looking at the composer's name, Nicholas Britell, and he's worked on a lot of like Adam McKay's movies. Most recently, Don't Look Up, So, and I thought the music in there was fantastic. And he's worked on a lot of other shows too, like Succession, and he's gotten Emmy awards and everything. So he's pretty well established. But the music that he does here fits so well with the visuals, like it has more synthetics, more like guitar riffs, and gives you that sort of like, again, like we said of the visuals in the first episode, that Blade Runner feel, the more sci-fi grounded, like dirty feel, and the music here I think really, really worked, and I think he did such a good job with it. So all of that, from the visuals to the acting to the music, we're getting a very distinctly different Star Wars product in this Andor series, and all of that is really, really working well for me.
Yeah, that's very fair. And again, we're just, we're the whole different side of Star Wars I really enjoyed, especially that you know, we haven't really seen this done before, but real quick before, one of my favorite scenes in this was episode 3, where, you know, the whole town that they're in right now, everybody's kind of like seeing these corporate officers come in, and they start just banging on stuff. Very much like you're talking about with composing. This episode has a lot. These episodes have a lot to do with sound so far. You know, whether it be the silence of Kenari or the hustling and bustling of that planet, and then the giant hammer that kind of wakes everybody up or tells everybody, hey, it's nighttime, like go to bed kind of thing. It's very, very interesting, and like, again, we're seeing different side of Star Wars that I'm really enjoying. It's not typical like aliens and other stuff so far. So yeah, I'm really liking that.
And what a perfect building of tension to that scene where you just get the metal clanging like constantly throughout that section, and then it goes dead silent, and you, along with the corporal characters in the show, are like, what's gonna happen? Like, it just built everything up so well. Like, again, like the composition of the scenes and the use of sound and the tension, like, you know, from these 3 episodes, everything was sort of snowballing into this final action sequence of this 3rd episode. And it was all done so masterfully, and I just gotta say, that guy that, you know, bangs the hammer to wake everybody up, I haven't seen anybody that loves their job as much as that guy. That dude's getting a kick out of that.
It's a badass job, I'm not gonna lie. He's got the headphones on just to block out the sound. He's just got his form and his composure. It's just great. But
great form.
Other than that, guys, you know, what did you guys... For those of you who did see it, are you guys liking this? Is this your new favorite Star Wars show? Is it boring to you? Are you weirded out or in love with the hammer guy? I would love to know. Let us know in the comments. Until next time, guys, we got She-Hulk coming out again this week with another episode. Rings of Power with another one. And I want to say... Don't Worry, Darling. Also House of Dragon. But Don't Worry, Darling is also coming out, so we are going to try and see that and do a review on it. We'll see if it's a true dumpster fire like some people are saying, or is it a solid movie made by a very flawed director. I don't know. We will have to see. But we'll have to see. Until next time, guys, as always, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. As always, be good, be safe, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.